Extra Bases with Bristol and Booth. A very eventful week in Astros baseball with Houston signing Tatsuya Imai. Of course, that was a signing that it didn't really make a lot of sense to you, Jeremy. Does it make any more sense having listened to some of the news conference, if any?
Well, I'm not sure that you can call me an analyst, Jason, but
We were
since
going to get to viewer mail
yeah,
later.
I have so much fun with it. Since we're here, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world today that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, um, and I do mean a lot. So, I mean, why not add this one to the mix? When it comes up, I don't. I guess my answer on this is I still say. And by the way, not that I need the appeal to authority, but I am going to say this. Because we are seen and we are watched, and apparently by people that we aren't aware of or watching us until they write about it. I've heard from other analysts and um, other reporters, basically people in our industry, in some print or in television, who have said that my take was correct. It was correct, and so I'm glad to hear that. I'm not alone in that opinion. But with that said, there has to be something else behind it for that signing to make sense, right? I'm sure there was some, and I say this with as much respect as I can to the young man who's over here going to pitch, but I'm sure there was some politics involved in that. I'm sure there was some comfort involved in that with the relationships that Jim Crane has with Daikin, and I think there was it sure sounded like Dana was pretty excited about it. So he was effusive, if anything, if that's the way to go. If it was effusive about my man, and I'm excited to see what he can do. I still think there's got to be something else behind it, though. It doesn't make sense in a vacuum.
When you meant comfort, you meant like comfort as in comfort inside air conditioning. Yes, I see that. I see that. Well
Yeah,
played.
that's kind of where I was going with it. Yeah,
Well played. Well
yeah.
played. Joe Espada did mention that six-man rotation, we're likely going to see that. Imai is used to working on 5 days rest. I don't have a problem with it. When I look at the length of a Major League Baseball season and some of the injury history you have with other pitchers on this staff, I'm okay with a six-man rotation. If that's going to save bullets for later in the year, now, do they have enough to fill it out? They certainly have the quantity, but the other Q word, I think that remains to be seen.
Um, One thing I'll say about Dana is that he's been very good at stacking depth at AAA, right? He's good at finding 4A guys. He's good at finding guys that come in and fill gaps. I mean, anybody the Astros, specifically Dana, this regime, uh, signs to be that guy needs to be given the benefit of the doubt because they've done such a good job with it. I think the six-man rotation is more a product of where we are today and the Astros' history with health, right? I know it's a new health regime. I know.
Protocol,
Well, we
return to play,
changed
which we haven't. That will be one of the first questions at spring training when I'm there.
leadership decided to change the regime of the Astros health staff. And so with that in mind, there comes new processes. Doesn't change the way that pitchers are trained today. It doesn't change the way they're going about it with velocity first and intent and all the things that we've, been talked about ad nauseum across every channel. But with that in mind, with the Astros needing to keep guys on the field, yeah, I mean, a six-man rotation doesn't isn't exactly the worst idea in the world until you know what you got. Um, does that happen all year long? I don't know. Right now, you're talking about ideas where they start it, they roll with it, they see how it goes for a month or two, and then they pivot if it doesn't work. But six-man rotation for them is logical based on the health they've had, especially with Javier. Wanting to be careful with him still. You don't know what McCullers is going to give you. You never know what that's going to happen, where he's going to slot. You've got a couple of guys. One guy he signed out of Korea. I think the Roa kid was today, right? I mean, you've got some guys who are 4A depth, and you have the Japanese guy, my man, who's um, used to throwing strikes and used to taking the ball, and you probably want to protect him a little bit, right? So not to mention Hunter Brown and guys at the front. I do think saying a six-man rotation signifies that at least as we sit today, because anything can change. Okay, that Framber Valdez days with the Houston Astros are over. I think that's probably a safe bet. So, with that said, my analysis, my analysis here is that the Astros still need another move, but a six-man rotation is a good bridge.
It is. Should we hear some of the news conference?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see if we can do this here. Did you listen to any of it?
I did not.
Okay. Let's see here. While
That's not true. I saw a couple of clips.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. I will say that. But
that is true. Yes, you
did I
did see.
process it? No, I
Yeah.
didn't process it. I'm just.
Here is Imai talking about his level of him being a competitor. How's that?
負けず嫌いだなっていうのは自分でも、はい、感
What's
じてまし
that?
た。
What's
How
that?
how do you pronounce it again?
Tatsuya Imai.
Tatsuya Imai.
Imai. Yeah,
Imai.
Imai. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I get my man's name right. Tatsuya Imai. Yes?
Yes, Jeremy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so ever since I started playing baseball back in elementary school, I felt like I was a competitor, wanted to always come out on top, throw the ball the furthest, the fastest. That mentality stuck with me throughout my career with the Cebu Lions. That mentality of must win, and compete and do my best. That mentality I feel like has stuck with me ever since elementary school.
All right. To be expected, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know about the look on the face right there with the frozen frame, but I mean the look, the look too in love with the environment right there. Did somebody mess up his name?
Here's Jim Crane talking about Imai. This is this is about the team's presence in the Pacific Rim when it comes to scouting.
Well, we'll continue to work hard on it. We've actually got boots on the ground both in Tokyo, or three places, Taiwan, Tokyo, and Seoul. So we've got scouts over there and people assisting to identify talent over there now. We just made that adjustment in the summer. Probably didn't have much to do with this one, but it'll have a lot to do moving forward as we work on those markets to try to bring the great players here to Houston.
Is it my turn?
Yep.
Okay. First of all, great job by Jim Crane and ownership and listening to Dana Brown and the rest of that front office who is talking about actually having to get to scouting. Talking about making that adjustment in the summer eliminates a gross era in Astros scouting when it comes to not seeing players and consolidating just by video. And I got to tell you, it was the results were pretty gross, so I'm glad that this is different, and I'm glad that Jim has taken that approach because that's what they need to do. Oh, I'm not surprised to see this cat, but that's exactly what they needed to do. All right, let's go.
All right, here is Scott Boras. The question is, why does Tatsuya Imai's Astros contract have opt-outs? I don't recall him actually answering the question, but I believe that it might be let me rephrase that. I think he creatively answered the question. There's also, I think, this part of all of this that Imai may be the first Japanese player to have opt-outs after the first couple of years. Here's Scott Boras' answer.
Tatsuya is obviously, when you bring players from the MPB here, obviously we all have varying degrees of knowledge and perception and then in some instances speculation as to how they will advance and how they'll perform here. And I think sometimes to make a union that's appropriately addresses the ceiling of a player's performance and also the applicability of that performance as seen, you obviously take a contract form that allows for observation and evaluation on both parties, and that's what Dana and I were able to agree to, and certainly we have, very high hopes for when you want someone in an environment for particular reasons, comfort, success, the defense, what the composition of the team, how well he throws in the ballpark, all those considerations were a part of, coming to Houston, and I think that, we hope that both of our evaluations are correct and our relationship continues in the future.
All right, I will apologize that Scott did answer that question. So, Jeremy. Go
Okay.
ahead, Jeremy.
No. Okay. I mean, one thing I'll say for Scott Boras is that he's excellent when it comes to speaking about his client and speaking about um, the opportunity and what the industry may have, and he gives you every variable in the world as for why something can work out and why something may not work out, and that if it doesn't work out, it's just a bad set of circumstances, and the next one will be better. He's very good at that, and that's what he did. So. Um, it's the guy. It's called a veteran answer. It's a veteran answer right there, and the man's a vet.
What else do we have here? Let's see.
Well, hang on a second. I want to say this too. I actually like Scott.
Yeah,
I like Scott. I like the people around him. I like his agent group. And I say that because I got to tell you, every single time that we identify a Boras client, and I mean every time, when it comes to the Future Star Series, there are zero, and I do mean zero hurdles, zero expectations. It is 100% trust with what we have with their kids and their players. And that says a lot about the man because he understands what is best for his clients. So I got to give him a lot of credit on that.
yes, the players that he is advising. Right? Yeah. Of
Sure.
course, I mean, Scott, he's been in the bushes, man. I mean, he came up in the Cardinals organization, teammate of Tommy Herr. So yeah, he's been there. Here's what?
Some of the other agents, though, just because we just did have him there, when it comes to this particular player and the guys that in my dealings with them, don't take that perspective. It's sometimes extremely difficult to deal with people.
Okay.
And Scott, while he understands the value of his player, he also understands what's good for his player, right?
Sure.
And he looks at the long-term view. And this isn't putting anybody down, but man, I got to tell you. I got a few agents that I really, really like, and there's some people out there that are just hard to deal with across the board on purpose, and Scott's not like that. Scott's pretty upfront and direct when you know where you stand. It's pretty easy to deal with, actually.
Here's Tatsuya Imai's style of pitching.
Yeah, so obviously Scott has mentioned multiple times, I just have to keep doing the things that I've been doing, and, the success and, the results will follow. I've taken that to heart. And, at the same time, like, I don't have any history here in the MLB. And so, I almost feel like I have nothing to lose. I just need to go out there and take it on as a challenge. And I feel like my style of pitching of just being aggressive and attacking hitters and going right after these guys, is my best trait. And so definitely want to keep that. And I'm looking forward to, showing the fans here in Houston my style of pitching.
I'm glad you showed the interpreter because I was going to ask how he was throwing his voice like that. He wasn't saying anything, but
Yes.
no, look, all great answers and um, direct and pretty typical of it's humble.
Mm-hmm.
These are just, he looks like he's happy to be here, but he's also not answering questions, interpreter is, and I mean, so far so good, he's adjusting.
This is interesting. Jim Crane, after the news conference, was asked about whether he would like to stay under the luxury tax. Would the Astros like to remain under the CBT or luxury tax threshold?
The luxury tax is a luxury tax. I feel like we made a luxury move, but we have the opportunity to maneuver that around. Everybody writes that I'm afraid of the luxury tax. I'm not necessarily afraid of it, but I run the team like a business, and there's only so much resources you can put to it without going deep in a hole. So we don't operate like a lot of the bigger market teams, but you've seen over the years we'll spend the money when we think it's right, and we'll be aggressive when we have to be. I think the template has been there for a long time. You've seen it every deadline. We've made some pretty big moves.
Not wrong.
Nope, not wrong.
I got nothing. I don't have any issues with Jim Crane as an owner. I really don't. I understand why he's doing it. He knows how to play the tax deadlines. He knows when to invest in his team. He knows when to pull back a little bit. He listens to his people. He's knowledgeable enough that he's an owner that, from what I've been able to tell, trusts his people. He verifies, but he trusts his people. He's gonna ask the right questions. He knows enough when people are telling him what's right about the game, and what he knows how to trust his own eyes. So again, no issues with what Jim just said. I do believe he was led down the wrong path by some previous people that were here. Not
I would
necessarily.
agree.
Yeah. So I mean, but I think he's in the right spot now, and he's got a handle on it. And by the way, for those of you listening, because there are people listening or watching, I'm not talking about pure baseball people or pure analysts. I'm just talking about people. There's people be done some wrong stuff here, and Jim's got enough feel to be able to get through it. So that's a win.
We should catch up on some comments. We have about 10 minutes left. We should catch up on some
Oh,
comments.
okay. Was there comments?
Yes.
Okay.
The one about Mike Burrows, and then college baseball, how Major League Baseball is intentionally shifting player development to college baseball, the Baseball America. Rob, who's really one of our top listeners, says, for decades, the experts have always said the College World Series is the equivalent of AA competition, and statistically, it makes sense to let college baseball players develop. How many players are drafted out of high school, decide to go to college instead, and then improve their draft position after 2 or 3 years of college baseball, and the player is more big league ready? Someone is tracking that information and has decided it more effective and efficient to let college develop the player versus rookie or A-ball minor leagues. They can draft a junior at LSU, send him straight to high A or double A at 22 years old.
There's a lot to unpack there, Jason.
Okay.
Um,
I hope I read it correctly
I,
in terms of how many players are drafted out of high school, decide to go to college instead, and then improve their drafts. I think he means, yes, statistically
no,
it makes sense
yeah, you're
because
right.
so many players do improve. Certainly, it's a different animal when you're talking about maybe guys in the first round or second round. Granted, they're very rare that go to college and turn down professional baseball. Sometimes it's hard for them to increase their draft status. But yeah, statistically, it totally makes sense. Most players do improve their draft status out of high school, at least in the old days of the baseball draft.
First of all, I've never heard anybody say the College World Series was double A. I never heard anybody anywhere ever say college baseball is like double A baseball. It is absolutely unequivocally not. And whoever
Oh,
said that is misleading you. Now, is it low A? Yeah, but let me put it to you in perspective this way. Okay. And by low A, I mean the old short season that doesn't exist.
really?
Yeah.
That low?
Let me explain it to you.
Okay.
Okay. If it was low A or double A baseball, then every player on these teams we're talking about would be drafted and signed. Every single one. And furthermore, every player that's drafted and signed would get to at least high A. Every one. And that does not happen. That immediately kills your argument right there. Okay.
Okay. And
What I will
I think
say,
he's just saying what the experts that he
well, okay,
has.
so their argument. Either
Okay.
way,
Yeah.
it's wrong, and it's not that. If you look at it from that perspective, if you have 8 College World Series teams and everybody's got 30 guys on it, that's 240 pros right
And
away.
most of the guys start out, even your top draft picks typically start out in high A. Let me
Yeah, I mean,
the older high A. Like that's some of your best players start out at high A.
I took a I took a guy in the first round years ago, and they asked me where, well, they used to ask you where you'd send them. They still do now. But then I said high A, and I gave all the reasons why, and they sent him to high A. Still took him 3 years to get to the big leagues. and he was signed out of Texas. Now, um, for years, and this has shifted recently only because of how, what the Baseball America article said. For years, the impact in the game overwhelmingly came out of high school. Overwhelmingly. Didn't mean there weren't guys out of college that were talented and played well and performed. A matter of fact, one of my most favorite teammates years and years and years ago was JD Drew, and JD was one of the best college baseball players ever to play, and went on. He was a guy that made that jump. Anthony Rendon is another guy. I know whatever happened now made that jump, but there's also another guy that was in my era named Troy Gloss,
Hmm.
who was ready at 17, at 18 years old, right? There's guys who are ready at 17, 18 years old. All of that to say this, the game has shifted now where the opportunities work better to go to college as far as what that means in many cases. Not all, but in many cases, college baseball, the statistical value of the better talent playing against the better talent is what these guys are valuing. It's not overall development, no matter what they tell you. It's a safer pick. It's a safer investment in what you have. They're older, they're further along. It's the opposite of every player you sign in Latin America at 15 years old or 16 years old. You go sign another one at 22, and you've got yourself a balance,
And
right?
you can
What
probably
happens
make
is
you can probably make the same argument now for Japanese players because they have a track
absolutely.
record.
Absolutely. So you have, and Mexican league players have a track record too. They go play professionally and they come on. So what I'd say is
Although
this:
there's not, I can't even remember the last Mexican. Let me rephrase it. A player who was maybe like a Arabio Durazo, like that's the
yeah,
one that come.
you're right. Great example. But still, they have a big league, right? They have a professional league down there for them, which has a AAA affiliation. So what I would say is it's not that argument's wrong. It's wrong in 9 million ways. It's wrong. But the way the game has shifted, it does make sense today to go to college and knock out some of that time, especially because where it used to be you'd be on buses in stadiums that were nowhere near as nice. College baseball playing wherever you're playing is a different environment versus being in, no offense to the city, Missoula, Montana, going to play in Billings or, in the Northwest. It's just different. It's just
Yeah.
a different spot. So,
All right. We only have about 3 minutes left here. Our last extra bases got considerable amount of attention. The immediate reaction. Nathan says this was recorded before the incentive structure was fully revealed, so I'll give Booth a slight pass here. Imai will make 18 million in 26 if he throws 100 innings. Blah blah blah. Contract 27. He says the posting fee, including a fee to the Lions, 28 million, but only 18 million counts towards the luxury tax. But yes, thank you. It was one of these situations that we went right on, and
oh yeah.
we were kind of talking through what the posting fee would be. On X, Hexy, the orange hex says, Jeremy Booth still has a job. He's the worst analyst in Houston sports. And then Rogue HOU Sports LLC says, in quotes, failed scout and known Astros hater and Twitter block champ, Jeremy Booth.
First of all, thank you for your attention and thank you for,
You
for
have you
watching.
have 2 minutes,
Yeah,
Jeremy.
no, listen, I say it again. If you don't like what I do, but you watch everything that I do, you're still a fan. And I appreciate the viewership. I don't care what you have to say. I really don't, because when tonight's over, I'm going to turn around with all these tens and hundreds of millions of dollars that have run through our Future Star series, and I'm going to sleep pretty well on my resume. I'm going to feel really good about what we did today and yesterday and what I'm doing tomorrow. And you go ahead and keep hiding behind your rogue champion Twitter handle, which I can't see and don't care. Okay? Sweet?
Failed,
Good. All right,
failed
pumpkin.
scout, known Astros hater, Twitter block champ, Jeremy.
I have a Twitter block chat. I don't deal with that stuff. You know who taught me that? And it's not even a guy that
Wasn't
I
me,
like.
because I just say
No,
ignore it. I
it's
just
not.
ignore it.
Well, it's
I
not a
ignore
guy. It's not even a guy that I like. But Kyle Bodie was really good at that. Like
it.
he was just blocking people left and right. I'm not a big Bodie fan, but I give him credit for that.
Yeah.
He did that. And so you know what? You know what happens is you don't have to listen to that.
Yeah.
Besides, if somebody's hiding, I'm out there on Front Street.
Sure. Yep.
Jeremy, if you're hiding behind some fake avatar
Yeah.
trying to yell things, why do I care what you have to say?
Exactly.
I'm good. Good with me. I'm good with what we're doing. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Film it, whatever, when this runs on. Watch it again.
My feed on X is just full of Japanese baseball fans and Japanese characters. So that's really exciting. It's exciting to bring a new group of fans into this sphere that we're working here on Extra Bases. So we appreciate all of you for watching. That's going to do it for this Extra Bases. For Jeremy, I'm Jason. Till next. What?
I just want to thank all the other, writers.
All right, we're running out of time.
Hold on. Writers, media members that pick up on things that we're saying, and we put them out into the rest of the sports universe. And, just kind of agree. I don't know. Maybe it's me, but, thank you for that. I'm going to go rogue now. Night,
all right,
Jason.
everybody. No, you. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.